I'm going to demonstrate how to load capillary samples for use with the robotic sample changer for powder diffraction measurements at SSRL beamline 2-1. Once you are awarded beam time, you can request and will receive a sample loading kit. This will include sample bases with plastic caps which are held in place with magnets. Each base should have a barcode and sample ID number on the bottom. You will also receive a vial with a number of short, 1-inch sections of kapton tubing. The powder diffraction sample will be loaded into one of these. You will also have a small amount of modeling clay that can be used to seal the ends of the capillary. To help with loading the sample, I will use a gauge pin. This is a precision ground rod which fits into the kapton capillary. The smooth end of a small drill bit can also be used for this. The sample that I have is made up of large crystals that are not well suited to a powder diffraction measurement. Using a mortar and pestle, I will gently grind this to a fine powder. You can use a set of sieves to ensure a small particle size. In this case, I will consider the powder to be fine enough once I can no longer see any sparkle from large crystals. Next, I will select a capillary to load with powder. To start, I will use the clay to seal one end of the capillary. The easiest method that I have found is to squeeze the clay into a thin section. The capillary can then be poked through the clay, leaving a small plug inside of the capillary. Repeat this a few times to make a larger plug to seal the end of the capillary. Be sure to clean up the outside of the capillary to remove any leftover clay. I will use the same approach to load the powder into the capillary. By punching the open end of the capillary down into the powder, a small plug of powder will be left in the capillary. You can think of this like a small cookie cutter. Repeating this a few times will give a larger plug of more densely packed powder. Once there is a good bit of powder in the capillary, but before the process packs it too tightly, I will use the gauge pin to push it down to the far end of the capillary. Tap off any loose powder on the outside of the capillary, then gently slide the pin into the capillary to push the powder further into the capillary. You can then use the pin to gently tamp down the powder. Repeat this process a few times until you have a good length of powder. Aim for at least 5 millimeters, and ideally a bit over 1 centimeter of total powder into the capillary. Once the capillary is loaded, there may be a large amount of unfilled length remaining. To keep the powder from moving around in the capillary when it is spun during measurement, cut off the majority of the excess capillary length, but be sure to leave a little bit of length to plug the open end of the capillary. Clean off the outside of the capillary, and then we will punch this through the clay to plug the open end as we did before. With the capillary loaded and sealed, gently insert it into the small hole in the metal base. Insert it completely. It should fit snugly and hold the capillary firmly. Finally, put the plastic cap over the base to protect the capillary. The sample is now ready to send to SSRL for measurement.